Hello everybody and welcome to the Bristol and Bath Lifting Club. My name is Mark.
And my name is Liam.
And today, guys, we are discussing... What are we discussing, Liam?
Well, you said we're either discussing yoga classes.
Yoga people.
Or the back.
Or the back.
Which you could discuss both of them in the same show, given that they're both kind of relevant, aren't they?
Yoga girls in the back.
Well, yeah, I mean, those yoga people do stab you in the fucking back, don't they?
They also train in the back of the gym.
They do. So, have you got any stories for us?
Oh, loads. So, we have yoga classes at our gym regularly, and their studio is right on the back of the heavy duty weights area.
Mark, I need to stop you there. I suppose I'll be fact checking this. It is not their studio. It is the gym studio.
This is true, actually. They've claimed it as their own, but it was not built for them.
It's Studio 1, and it is the gym studio.
It is a gym studio.
The only studio that's attached to the gym. There are two other studios, one of which I was told on my induction there is a yoga studio, but it is a lot shitter and there's no windows.
That's why they don't want to go back there.
Exactly.
They got moved up there during COVID, and now they've made camp. They're not going. They're not leaving.
Exactly. Because this is the thing, isn't it? Is that, like the word there you said, back, move back there, because that was originally their domain, as I understand it. I don't know. I wasn't here then.
No, it's true.
So what is up with all of this beef? I mean, gym bros, do they not mix with studios? Do they not mix with yoga people?
I don't think they do. So it all started when Trennis... This is before Trennis, actually.
This would be before Trennis, surely.
But this is the first time I've heard there was beef between yoga and gym goers. So Trennis was doing some deadlifts.
So Trennis is a member of the gym.
He is.
Whose name you've changed for legal reasons? I don't know.
Just because we're pretty sure he takes Tren, but we cannot prove it yet.
Is this a Liver King situation?
Maybe.
Is he going to be the new Liver King?
Yeah. But anyway, he was doing some deadlifts and he was banging the barbell, as you do. And, you know, this crops up online as well. You see a lot of these videos online with people getting angry at deadlifters for banging the barbell. But anyway, there was a yoga class going on next door. Dennis was banging the barbell. And ever since then, they've had some serious beef with the weightlifters.
I did not realise that Trennis kicked it all off.
He did, yeah.
I thought that it was other people. I thought that it was... Well, I know there's been lots of issues with batteries because I don't know what they need batteries for in the yoga studio, but I know that they go and they scream at the top of their voices to Baker Boy, the fabulous Baker Boy. What do they need batteries for? Or do they bring vibrators or something like that?
I think that might settle them down a bit if they did.
Maybe they should start bringing their vibrators to... I mean, it does seem like some of them just need a real good hard fuck, doesn't it?
I mean, are you offering?
No, I'm not.
So we've got headsets in there. I don't know why, because it's really not that big. You don't need a headset. I've never used a headset during class. But they've got headsets in there. And that's what the batteries are for. So they can be quite mean to us regular gym people and people who work in the gym when they don't have their batteries or something isn't exactly how they want it.
Someone pulled out the aux cable.
Yeah, they can be quite rude.
They're very aggressive and very shouty.
They are quite patronizing as well. And it's funny because I've been teaching classes for a very long time, and one thing that I'm really hot on is get to your class 20 minutes early before your class starts. Check everything, make sure you've got all the right equipment, make sure that the environment is ready for you to teach in, and then do your class. It's your responsibility. But these teachers will come in 10 seconds before their class starts, kick off a fuss, and then blame anyone and everyone except for themselves.
Is it just the yoga people, or are there other
assholes
out there?
There's quite a few, yeah.
Are there spinning assholes as well?
There are, yeah. There's
assholes come in a lot of varieties, I've noticed.
Yeah, there's quite a few, but mostly it's the yoga and the bang and the weights. That's the issue, not the fact that they don't prepare their classes.
There's a certain amount of banging weights that goes in the gym, and yes, some people take it to the extreme, but it seems like you cannot, it needs to be extremely quiet, you know, and that's not really very good to be doing that sort of thing, like absolute silence in a gym environment. And what I think they forget is that they're coming into the gym environment. The gym hasn't just materialized in their environment.
Exactly, they're in our sandbox. So if you're doing heavy deadlifts, you're going to get to a point, especially when you're over like the 200 kilo mark, where it's really hard to do them quietly.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Dennis was doing about 220, maybe 240 for reps. So that's going to make a bit of a noise. And also, it doesn't help that we don't have a deadlift platform either.
No, which we have asked for.
We have.
I even said, you know, to push it further up the food chain or the hierarchy, I said, even if I was managing to source a deadlift platform for free and installed it, because it literally just goes on the floor, could we get one then? I was told no. So
yeah, I mean, we can make one on the cheap.
it's literally laminate floor. And
yeah, they're not too
impact.
difficult to make. We could do that, but it's still no. It's funny, isn't it? And I'm pretty sure, because there's a swimming pool below the gym, right? And I'm pretty sure once upon a time, a tile came loose from the ceiling from someone doing deadlifts.
More than once.
And landed in the pool.
Yeah. Which
I wouldn't even be annoyed. I'd be impressed.
That's surely a health and safety issue.
Yeah.
Because the gym is technically right above the swimming pool.
What an achievement. I'd be like, damn, I deadlifted so heavy I broke the roof. I mean, I'd go home smiling.
I do worry a little bit about that floor, that one day that there'll be a nice, you know, ceiling light coming on top of that.
Oh no, everyone's down below.
Yeah,
Just gets
and then a 20
electrocuted.
kilo plate just plonks into the swimming pool. And then after that one, because they didn't bother to put the gym clips on the side of the barbell, there's another one and then another one, and then they just all fall off the end, and then comes a barbell.
Yeah, and then comes the whole roof with all the weightlifters in it. And the yoga ladies. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at with yoga and gym. They just don't seem to mix.
In all seriousness, I can completely understand that if you are trying to go to a yoga class and there's a tranquil kind of meditation bit that you would want quiet.
Yeah, what do they call it? Shavasana or something?
I'm not sure.
It's that part at the end where you just have a nap. That's my favourite part.
I don't think they call it that. It's not a game of sleeping lions. If you
just have a nap at the end.
No, I think it's supposed to be a calming, tranquil kind of part, which if we all imagine a nice, calm, tranquil breathing in and out, and then you just hear a boom, you know, that's essentially what you're getting, because there's a gym not even next to it, it's in the same room essentially. There's just two doors there, you know, you can see light through the doors because there's windows in them. There's windows between the gym and the gym studio because it's a gym studio, and you know, I mean, you can even see air, you know, like a gap underneath the door, so it's not soundproof or anything like that. But I can completely understand that it might not be the best place to have yoga sessions and that, which is why they had a yoga studio, which doesn't get used anymore. My main issue isn't that they're upset. My main issue is the way I think that they treat both members of staff and also other members in the gym. And it's just extremely rude. Like, I thought you were supposed to be quite, like, happy and chilled out and all that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know why it is about this stretching and fucking vegan food that really turns you into what I can only describe as an absolute Karen fucking And I don't mean caring, I mean Karen. But I just don't get it. I mean, is there something in the water fountain, or what?
That might be my reply next time. I'd be like, I thought you guys meant to be pretty chilled out after yoga.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't understand why there's a need to be that rude. Because you're aware of, like, the stories that other staff members and stuff have said about, like, that they've been minding their own business. Maybe they're on reception, or maybe they're in an office or something like that, and all of a sudden some person from the yoga class, maybe even the instructor, just comes up and doesn't say, hello, can I talk to you? They scream at the top of their voice.
Yeah, they just storm out. It's quite
crazy.
surreal.
Yeah.
But man, I've been doing yoga wrong all this time, because I've done a few yoga classes.
Yeah.
And I've just been going to sleep at the end.
I've never done a yoga class, but I've bought yoga moves, if you can call them moves, onto or stretches onto the end of my PT training, because if you do something like back or something like that, you know, because if you're doing weight training, then that's essentially going to make the muscles tight, so you kind of want to stretch it out afterwards. So obviously I'm a big fan of the dead hang, but then I also teach people things like the cat cow and that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of it for martial arts as well.
Yeah.
Like, you get a lot of grapplers who train yoga as well, just to like limber up. But my first experience with yoga is actually when I met my wife. We went to Portugal together and we did a yoga and surf holiday.
Oh, that's cool.
It was pretty cool, actually. And it was tough as well. It wasn't easy yoga. But they did do that bit in the end where you just meant to lie there and be mindful. I just rolled over and went to sleep. That was the best part.
Right. Well, you are in your own mind, I suppose, if you're... Yeah. If you start snoring, I can see that being a problem. But, I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do.
I mean, I
There's
probably
nothing
did
wrong.
that too, because it was quite early classes. You had to get there for like sunup.
Oh, okay.
So it was on a pier as well in Portugal. It was quite early. So I was pretty knackered anyway. There's a few times where I almost skipped it because I was like, I could just stay in bed. But I did it.
But no, yoga Karens, because there are yoga Karens and then there are spin Karens as well, because they also have spin classes and stuff like that. And I've noticed that it's also another one of those things that they seem to be the very, very aggressive.
Oh, they hate men.
They hate men, what, the people that go to the spin class?
No, the one of the instructors
Oh.
has a thing about hating men. So she's never nice to
So is that
any of the gym staff.
So what class do they teach?
I mean, without...
Is it mixed, or is it just spin, or is it like yoga, or is it like
I think
women's
there's quite a few
self-defense?
external instructors that do a few different classes.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a mix of a few. But yeah, they're never really pleasant to talk to.
They do seem very, very rude. I don't know what one of their classes would be like. Maybe if you took one of their classes, they might actually have to be nice to you.
Yeah, I mean, one of the instructors has a certain guy in her class, and he does a few of my classes as well.
Yeah.
And he's openly said, like, yeah, be careful with this particular instructor because she just hates men.
It sounds like there's an issue there. Maybe she needs therapy.
Maybe. I mean, if you've heard it all, right? You've heard the way they talk and how they act.
I've witnessed firsthand them how they've treated members of staff. I've only had, as far as I'm aware, one complaint made about me. That was by the spin instructor.
Oh, is that because you didn't have shoes on?
Yeah, so I was teaching deadlifting, and we didn't have our shoes on for deadlifting because the person turned up with... I mean, I wouldn't have said that they were trainers or anything, but they were not the best, you know, they weren't the best sort of gym shoes, let's be fair. And I'm a fan of doing squats and deadlifts in socks, and that I think after a while you build up a lot of sensitivity in your feet. And particularly with when I teach deadlifts, as you're getting into the motion before you lift, you should feel the weight shift to kind of like the heel of your foot when you drive the heel, pushing the heel of your foot into the ground or pushing the ground away from you.
Which is a really good cue, by the way.
Yeah, that's it. That people really get that when they take their shoes off, because they can feel the weight, you know, shift. And I know that some people have like proper deadlifting shoes and that. Some people, I think, are watching too much YouTube videos and they like to put little weights underneath their heels so that they can get away with a slightly shitter form. Whereas I'm more of one of those people that thinks, why don't we try and correct that rather than relying on something like that? Because if you're going to do a squat in real life, you're probably not going to think, I need to squat down. I know what I'll do is I'll go and
get my shoes.
I'll go and get some plates, put my shoes on the mat. It's like, no, I don't think so.
No, I hear you, man, because I'm a home gym goer, and for years I have squatted barefoot. I've done deadlifts barefoot. I've only recently started wearing weightlifting shoes, and that's just because I want to get used to them for competition purposes.
Yeah.
But most of my training is done barefoot. And I also had a complaint made about me. This is when I was in Australia.
Oh.
I was deadlifting barefoot, and then someone made a complaint about me to the manager. And he comes down, he was his way of solving problems. He just said one thing. He was like, could you not? Could you not?
Oh, right. Okay.
So that's all he said. Whenever there was an issue, you just hear him go, could you not?
Right.
So I was like, okay, I won't. But yeah, people do have an issue with it.
It's one of those things, like I make it a thing of giving people options and stuff like that. So if I've ever taught deadlifting or squat form or anything like that to people, I do mention some people like to do this. If you've ever seen people in the gym that are squatting with just in their socks and stuff like that, or with fancy shoes on, then this is the reason why. And then people have that knowledge, then have that option. But the thing is, she didn't say it to my face. She went and complained to a member of staff about that, and that came kind of secondhand, which is really unusual for a yoga or spin class instructor. Not just because you'd have thought someone like a yoga instructor would know the benefit of good mobility work, but also that they normally just scream at the top of their voices.
Yeah.
So maybe she finds me intimidating or dislikes me or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, you'll know if they've got an issue with you because they'll be in front of your face, just yelling, screaming bloody murder at you.
Well, it was just the one complaint, as far as I'm aware, that was made about me. And one of the complaints she had was they're going to drop the weight on their foot. And I'm like,
God,
it's literally impossible for you to do that. We're doing conventional deadlifting. If you are using a weight which you can swing on a deadlift to then drop on your foot, bearing in mind it's a fucking 6 foot odd like barbell, then that is too light a fucking weight for a start.
Was that really their
issue? Yeah.
So they complained about you for your own safety.
Yeah, no, that is exactly right. Apparently, according to the Fabulous Baker Boy, because that was who they made the first complaint to. But no, luckily, as of yet, no one's screamed at the top of their voice about me to my face, or that I've heard of. However, I have witnessed the marching, you see, where they go in, they lead, the instructor leads the group into the class, and then about 2 minutes later there's a march. The door swings open violently, and then they march through the gym to the gym office and then scream at the top of their voice. You'll know what they're upset about because everyone within like a 2 or 3 mile radius can hear what they're upset about because they scream.
Yeah, that guy with his like coffee truck in the park down the road, even he can hear it.
Yes, exactly.
It's pretty damn bad. But yeah, I don't really know what to make of the yoga people because they cause a lot of issues too. Like quite often they'll come out their classes late.
Yeah.
And then that was stretched into the next class going in. And I always think if that was us doing that, we would hear about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they come out of their class 5 minutes late, casually walk out the gym, no apology, leave it in a bit of a mess.
Oh, well, they leave it in a mess, but you'll find that they're the first people to shout and scream if there's been anything left. So there was one time where you've got like that big, it's a weighted square essentially, kind of like the size of a tire, because in some fancier gyms they have like tires and shit where you can just push them around and lug them around. Whereas
we use it for conditioning, right?
Yeah, we've got like this big square, I think it's 45 kilos. And normally it's up on its side against the wall. It wasn't up on its side, it was laying flat, which means that it protrudes into the room, a big studio, about an extra 2 to 3 foot.
Yeah, they didn't like that.
And you'd have thought that like it sounded like all hell had broken loose. Like I was like, oh my gosh, what the hell's going on? Has the ceiling caved in on someone or something like that? Some sort of massive health and safety issue must be going on, because they were screaming at the top of their voice to one of the gym instructors about it. And I was like, what is it? Is it that square? It's literally the square that's in the corner of the room. Rather than it being up on its side, it's just laying flat. And they're not strong enough to be able to lift it back up.
It's just so entitled because they think the studio is specifically for them.
Yeah.
They forget that we have loads of other classes going on in there. And we've got bits of equipment, but these bits of equipment have a very small surface area, very small footprint, which we put up against the wall, usually lengthways so it doesn't protrude into the gym. Yeah. But even that has been an issue at times. They've complained that there's equipment in their studio.
It's and I remember, not their fucking studio.
Exactly.
It's a gym studio. It's got weights in it. I mean, what more do you need to know? You can go in it. I
will say this, though. One of them went out and complained to the manager about bits of kit being in there. Yeah. And he was like, all right, let me take a look. Anyway, I saw him walk in and he was like, looked around. And honestly, he just looked at her and was like, what's the problem? Yeah. And she's like, there's kit in the gym. Yeah. And he was like, you've got plenty of room. And just, that was it. He just walked out.
God help us, Mark. There are fucking weights in the gym. How dare there be fucking dumbbells and kettlebells in the gym?
I know.
On the floor? No, they're in the dumbbell and kettlebell rack.
Who do we think we are?
I know. It's a fucking liberty is what it is. It's a fucking liberty, right? So obviously they're very angry people, and those angry people end up bringing the worst out of us, I think, because we get rather upset with it, listening to the same old thing over and over and over again. But it reflects really badly on the members as well. I mean, these members, if you imagine, they pay, you know, a fair amount of money to use the facilities here, to use the gym. It's already bad enough that they're sweating, obviously not from working out because they haven't started their workout. They're just sweating because it's the middle of summer and we're not allowed to switch the air conditioning on.
There is that too, yeah.
And yet the last thing you want is some fucking Karen shouting at the top of their voice in, you know, in your workout space at some poor, helpless, defenseless little baker boy, gym instructor, because someone's pulled the aux cable out, or they can't make the Bluetooth sync, which is another one which I've heard.
They can't work the stereo.
That is exactly what it is, yeah.
Pretty much.
But it's not just the yoga people, it's the spin, it's the spin people as well. The one people that you never get a problem with tend to be the martial artists, if they've ever done like martial arts things before. You never hear any complaints about those people.
Because they got self-discipline.
It might be self-discipline, or it might just be the fact that if maybe you are, if maybe you can just murder someone just with a slight wave or movement of your hand, maybe that chills you out more. Maybe if you're, you know, a very fragile vegan that's doing stretches on the floor, staring out the window at all of these buff people lifting weights, looking like they're having fun and chuckling and that, and resting between sets and stuff, maybe that just makes you into a, you know, vicious, nasty on the inside.
I mean, you could be onto something there, because martial artists, you know, you're referring to like a steel fist in a velvet glove, right?
Yeah.
So they know they're capable, but they're just super chilled.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the whole ethos behind martial arts. Self-discipline, you know, being able to handle yourself, being more confident, being more sure of yourself. Maybe.
And they're not actually staff, are they? So the people that come in to do classes, they are paid to do the class, but they're not on payroll as far as I'm aware, are they?
No. So we won't discriminate, because it's not just the yoga ladies or the yoga people.
Or the spin people.
Or the spin people. It's also the body pump people. The body con people.
I mean, just be thankful that there aren't any CrossFit.
Yeah.
Yet. Because you can imagine the only thing that would be worse would be CrossFit.
They always say, like, what would they tell you first? Are you vegan? Do you do CrossFit? Or you haven't watched Game of Thrones?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Or all three in the same sentence.
If you can work that into a sentence, I mean, that covers all areas, doesn't it?
You know someone trains CrossFit, they'll tell you straight away. I've got nothing against CrossFit, to be fair. I actually think it's quite a good concept in itself.
Yeah, the concept I agree with.
It's just the application. Yeah, I mean, they send a lot of people to the chiropractor trying to teach these. You know, Sharon, who's 40 years old, doing her first CrossFit lesson, she doesn't need to be doing power cleans or like snatches.
Have you seen CrossFit pull-ups? Like, they look like a worm. They
use the kipping pull-ups.
Yeah, CrossFit pull-ups. They are CrossFit pull-ups, but it's literally a wiggle. It's all leg drive, essentially.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
It's a swing. It's not a pull-up. It's a fucking swing.
Yeah, don't call it a pull-up. You know you're kipping. Call it a kipping pull-up.
A kipping pull-up.
Kip up. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But the idea of CrossFit is actually pretty good. And I like the idea of working multiple different attributes at the same time. It's just that they have no overriding goals.
It's not training as exercising.
Exactly. That's the problem.
And what's the difference, though?
When you're training, you have a goal. You're working pretty hard. You're working towards something. You're trying to improve an attribute. You know, exercising, you're just getting a sweat on.
Yeah. So exercising, you're exerting energy, whereas training is training towards a specific goal and purpose. So there's method to your madness rather than just a bunch of fucking mad, you know.
Which is what we have with CrossFit. It's just a bunch of madness.
Basically, it does look like that sometimes. It looks like if you got a chicken and cut its head off, it just goes around like clocking, like Yeah, until it just
Exactly.
falls on the floor and its guts spill out everywhere. It's basically the same. I mean, if you've ever watched a chicken get executed, that's all you need to know about CrossFit.
Basically your typical session of CrossFit, yeah.
Okay, so if we both were to teach a CrossFit class, like a legitimate one, what would that look like? Would it literally be a case of like I could get my special die? You know, the dice I've got, which tells you an exercise, you just roll it on the floor.
Oh yeah, your sex dice, but with exercises.
It's not a sex dice. I've got sex dice too, but I don't bring those to the gym. It is a dice, which it says like lunges, squats, blah, blah, blah. And there's another dice. And then that has like how many reps you're supposed to do. So on a Tuesday night when I go to the pub, on a Wednesday morning, I'm really not feeling like PT. And so I just get the dice out. First thing, it's like, oh, what are we doing today? Here we go. We'll just do that.
I've used them in my classes as well.
CrossFit workout. But no, if CrossFit is supposed to be taking the best of multiple disciplines to make, I think, what is it that they said, like the ultimate form of human training or something like that, then that is a cool concept. But I would liken it a little bit more to like superhero training.
Wait, do we need like a fancy CrossFit qualification?
Well, it is a cult, I'm told, so you do need to sign up to something. I'm not sure whether it's a cult or some sort of
You need to go for a baptism
multi-level marketing.
Do 100 shit pull-ups, and
But
then you get your badge.
From my understanding, and I did look into it at one point, from my understanding, you can go on a 2-hour course. So with your qualifications already and experience, then you might be able to condense that into actually just paying the fee and then give you a certificate. You might not even need to go on the full 2-hour CrossFit course.
You know what, though? I don't think I have it in myself to do a pull-up like that. I think...
Well, no, but you could design your own CrossFit.
Design my own pull-up.
Well, you could design your own pull-up, yeah.
But, like, if I was to do CrossFit and I had to do, their pull-ups, I'd feel really bad about it.
At the end of the day, CrossFit strikes me as essentially a team thing. So you would compete in a team with, like, as a group of people. It's not just like a singular thing, because that's one of the things people like about CrossFit is that you're all in a group. So essentially it is just like circuit training to a certain amount.
The social aspect of it is quite good. Those sort of like team events are great, and got a lot of respect for that. A lot of people quit the gym because they don't make those sort of social connections, and that can be really bad for retention if you're running like a gym sort of business. So CrossFit is good in that regard, but it's just like we said, it's a bit of a headless chicken. Your typical CrossFit session is a headless chicken running around quite aimlessly. So if I was to do CrossFit, I guess I would have different attributes worked at the same time. So I'd have your sort of cardio stations, I'd have your calisthenics stations, I'd have your strength stations, and maybe your like skill stations. But I would make sure people know what they're doing before I got them on to those sort of movements, because that is the issue. You rock up to CrossFit and all of a sudden you've thrown your back out doing a power snatch and you're at the chiro. So a
lot of the stuff they do is kind of like Olympic weightlifting to a certain extent, except what they do is they use really light weight and they try to do it really, really quickly. But you're trying to teach what's actually quite technical exercises and getting complete beginners to do it very quickly, and just assuming that just because it's a lighter weight that's somehow going to protect them. And I mean, you can go on YouTube and look at CrossFit fails, and it's like horrendous.
Yeah, they're everywhere. And also, like, the Olympic lifts are very technical. Like, if someone asked me to show them the Olympic lifts, I would say, I'm sorry, I'm not qualified.
I do. I teach them, but I also don't do them straight away. So I would want to see someone squat and overhead press and all that kind of thing first, because there's no real point. Like, I've taught power cleans and stuff like that, but I don't see much point in starting with that necessarily, because if you say to someone, and I have on numerous occasions, because there's quite a lot of women that have asked me about Olympic weightlifting because they've seen it somewhere else and they think it looks cool and it's fun, and it looks cool and it's fun to do and all that sort of thing. But then I said, okay, we'll start with some squats, and if they can't even squat. And that's it for the regular edition. If you go over to the Patreon, you can listen to the extended edition where I tell you a story about how a really obscenely fat lady crushed a midget once. But there we go. That's it for the regular edition.